know who I am? I'm a lady that dude disguised as another dude.
Strength and honor, strength and honor, strength and honor.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Why so serious?
I could crush you like a worm. At my signal, unleash hell.
Do or do not. There is no try.
All right. Hey, hello, everyone. Welcome to Christian Warrior Talk on Patriot Crusader Mission, episode 42, I believe. We're getting up
Sounds
there.
good.
Yeah,
We'll
we're
have to
getting
do
up
an
there.
extra special party for the big 5-0.
Yeah,
Couple weeks.
yeah, yep. So a lot of stuff going on.
Hi, Deb. Hi, John. Thanks for joining us on Facebook. If you're on Facebook and can pop over to YouTube, I just put that link there for you. Thanks
And
for
I'm
showing
gonna pull
up for
the
this
chat.
somewhat unscheduled episode.
Yeah. So
We were kicked out of the house this morning for our inspection.
home inspection.
And so we were not able to, Jason was not able to schedule time with Ken today because of that. And so we said, let's get on tonight. Talk to people. We have not heard anything about our inspection yet.
Too soon.
Hopefully tomorrow. Probably Friday. We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see. It looked nice, but that doesn't mean anything as far as the inspector goes.
Yeah. And this inspector has given us a hard time in the past.
So we'll see.
Over untrue things, like our furnace is, 15 years old when it's a year old. Little minor things like that.
Can you rebut an inspection report?
Yeah.
We'll see. God's got this.
That's
And
what
that's
I'm.
one of the things that we want to talk about tonight because we have both been floundering in the God's got this category. Shame on us.
Yeah.
And we need to walk it out a little bit better. We were on a great path until until things potentially got hairy.
So here's what today's episode's about. Today's episode is about when you fall off the wagon, getting back on the wagon, right? Or, hey, when you get in a routine of stuff, you're doing great, you're kicking butt, you're doing your workouts, you're spending your God time, everything's great, and then crisis comes up and how quick everything falls away.
Mm-hmm.
And, so let's spend some time, from our perspective, because I know that we're going great and, be honest, in all aspects of our life.
Yep.
And how we went from bliss 10 of 10 across the board to something less than that, really quickly without trying. And I think that's the part that's scary.
Yeah, I mean, I often, when we were starting kind of the challenge back in January, and I remember talking about the correlation between deliberately getting into a fitness routine had a lot of similarities to deliberately getting into a Jesus and Bible routine.
Yep.
And in the same way that kind of when you stop working out, you so quickly lose that progress, that
Yep.
muscle that you made and kind of
Yep.
all of that. And it takes so long to get there and you can lose it so quickly. Again, there is a huge correlation I find in your spirit-filled life as well, your Christian life. And it can take a while to get into a good routine and feeling like you are on track with Jesus, and
then you roll over.
That can go out the door real fast. And I don't know if that says that you're just not in the deep enough place. Because if it was that meaningful of a relationship, would you let it go that quickly? I don't know. Maybe that's something to talk about too or reflect on. But I know that I sure get out of a habit of reading my Bible in the morning fast when other life things come along, and that's exactly when you need to stick with it the most.
I completely agree with you. And we're going to dive into all of it. The Jesus part, the relationship part, like your significant other, the working out part, the diet part, the everything part. All right. So right when we come back from this introduction.
Oh, we remember.
Sweet. Okay.
It worked.
It worked. I got to remember doing that today. That was like, if I said nothing other than hi and hit that, I was going to do it. And it's the day Lauren got a little talkative on the front.
Oh, sorry. Did I blow it for you?
No, I was one in awe. You were like really talking there. Like you took like a whole paragraph and like
A whole paragraph.
Yeah.
I said multiple words together.
multiple sentences together.
Wow.
Yeah, I was.
It's like mark this day. What's today? 3/17.
Yeah. Oh, hey, she said happy St.
Happy-
Patrick's Day.
Happy
Wow, we're
birthday
such.
to my mom.
Yeah, happy birthday, Patty. You know, shows you how much of party animals we are right now.
Yeah. Not even drinking a green drink.
I'm drinking coffee because my eyes could fall asleep right now.
Yeah. Your eyes could fall asleep.
Yeah,
You could fall asleep.
Yeah, I could fall asleep. Yeah. Anyways, so deliberate pursuit of your goals is what we're going to talk about today, and what to do when you fall off the wagon, and it's time to get back on.
Want to be on.
Yeah, this isn't the bad wagon. So, we were doing great. I was in a 10 out of 10 on my Jesus walk. Felt like my marriage was, the happiest it's been. Everything's going good. Diet was going good. One thing that wasn't really going good for me was my workouts, because I was throwing all my energy on everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And not getting enough sleep and, the rest of it, and just always being tired. It just wasn't there.
Yep.
So, right away I had to adjust in my thing and said, okay, I have to prioritize this. Now, obviously I should be prioritizing working out, but I prioritize my relationship with God, and I prioritize family, and then the crises that we were rolling into. And I mean crisis, I don't mean life or death. I just mean big life events on timelines.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving, getting the house ready, cleaning, all this stuff, trying to find a place to live, et cetera, et cetera. So none of that is an excuse. Those are just all things we're going to run into. And if you think that life isn't going to throw challenges at you, then you must be the most blessed person on the planet, because everyone else I know is getting their butt kicked by life in one way or another.
I'd say you're the most naive person, because it's going to come.
Yeah.
If you're not having it now, it's going to come.
So recognizing that, one, you are going to have stumbling blocks. You are, like, I had a crisis of faith in my break. I had to break away from the Lord when, I was, my son Connor was diagnosed with autism.
Mm-hmm.
And it rocked me and made me reconsider everything. And what ended up happening is I ended up meeting you and getting us both resaved.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wasn't resaved. I was saved first.
yeah, you were saved and me resaved.
Yep.
So even though it may not be the best of thing that you fall off the wagon or things, whatever, God's going to use it for your betterment, for the betterment of everything. It becomes part of your testimony. It makes you more human. It makes you less, the 0.000000001% who never have, let anything get in the way of anything.
Right.
So that's a good thing, right? So next was my diet. My diet, when I started the whole thing this year, I was flawless. Dropped 10 pounds. I thought I was going to drop a heck of a lot more, because I did carnivore,
Mm-hmm.
where I cut out all carbs. I only ate meat. Well, not all carbs. They were extremely low carb, but I only ate animal products. So drank milk, cheese, meat, That was it.
He happily declined vegetables whenever they were offered. Oh,
Yeah.
nope, I'm on my diet.
I'm on carnivore, right?
I can't. It's a vegetable.
Yeah.
I can't eat it.
And I was, and again, even in the beginning, I found the workouts were the hardest part for me to get into.
Yeah.
Just because.
That was the change to routine. You always eat, so it's just a matter of changing what you eat.
Yeah.
Whereas the exercise, you had to find different time.
Yeah, and then adjusting to being back here, new routines, everything going on, trying to figure out what our life looks like. Like, when is the best time for me to work out? Do I have to get up at 5 a.m. to work out? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
And when that garage is cold and you don't want to be out there because it's cold, you can come up with a million excuses not to. But and all those I'm fine with. What my problem is what's happened to me in the past few weeks is, I went from totally feeling spirit-filled and, 100% walking in step with God's plan with me to getting too busy, to falling out of reading the Word, falling behind in days of my Bible read. My prayer life has become a need thing again, right? It's no longer praying for God. It's begging God to do things and give me strength and clarity and show me. And, just all the typical things. And then getting frustrated when nothing happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, too, because there's been a lot that's happened in the last several weeks that we're like, this is a God thing, where we said, God, take us, and we were seeing signs of God might be sending us, and, so we're recognizing that. So it's not like it's been a complete
Hey, John, good to see you.
Of belief in that, and I think partly there was a huge kind of dump of stuff, and some of it we can't fully talk about at the moment, but and so it was kind of trying to shuffle through personal feelings about things, and then is this a God opportunity or just a coincidence, or plus the timeline of the house and everything there. But then then the house went under a contract really fast too, and then all these things happened all at once.
So the thing that the thing that I'm most proud of, but again disappointed in myself, is the last thing to fall away from me on this time was my God thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was good. Everything else was great. Then a bunch of stuff gets dumped in my lap. I'm really grateful for a day or two. And then I am trying to put fires, schedule things out. Like, the new thing is finding the house, right? The new thing that I should be trusting in the Lord is trying to, in this horrible buyer's market right now, or seller's market, trying to find a place that's going to be there longer than an hour that fits what we need right now, where we need it.
Well, and we've up until very, very, very recently been anticipating that this is going to be we have to rent for a year or two situation, and we might be in a position now that we can actually buy, but it's not a great buyer's market. We haven't really spent much time in Tennessee, so as far as narrowing down exactly where and being nimble enough to jump on something quickly, we're not in the best position to do that. But also finding a rental, as we've talked to you guys with our life situation's harder too. So it's like picking which is the easier of two evils, really. Jumping into a house or finding a rental on the timeline that we might be on, which is...
Well, if we had no dogs, we could have a rental all day, every day.
Sure. We have dogs, so.
But we have dogs, so that just makes it difficult. And then we have a Staffordshire Terrier, which makes things even more difficult. So, it's really getting them to invest in us if somebody's going to...
But I've certainly noticed, as soon as the house went under contract, which God willing will continue to go through, it was a very high, wow, we worked so hard to get there.
Yep.
And just like that, it could be over. And then it very quickly transitioned into the... holy bleep, what's the next step? And I think that that's when I definitely noticed you, and I as well in a different way, but kind of you started doing that. I have to line things up 10,000 steps down the road versus what's the next one, and going into the hyper stress mode on Zillow and all of the resources and stuff.
Yeah, Zillow, Craigslist, For Rent, just rifling through all these places.
A million things at the wall versus we'll do our due diligence and God will make it apparent
Yep.
which, where we're supposed to go.
Yep.
And I think that has definitely fed into your stress, kind of corresponding with the not doing your diligent Bible time.
Yeah, without a doubt, because, what do I want to do? If I have a second, I'm on Zillow.
Yeah.
Because, again, things are, as you know, how many times have we been outbid or it's gone before we even get to put in our offer?
Right. Right. And so now it's opening up that app instead of the Bible app.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really has spread its web into all things, When I'm not in step with God, I'm not as good of a person. I'm grouchier. My fuse is shorter. I'm probably not as kind or as thoughtful. And lo and behold, our relationship, cools down.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of factors, all the same factors that we're talking about now that have played into that. And I know Jason spoke to me just, 2 days ago? He's like, do you still love me? And it's like, where's that coming from? And, I hadn't really even, there was nothing kind of cooking in my world that was like, I'm upset with Jason or I'm deliberately pulling away or anything. It's just, I had kind of hyper focused on getting this house ready. And then there's a few business things going on, and it's, and B's been having a rough couple weeks. And so it's just, I sacrificed my emotional capacity on being able to also extend being a good wife to Jason. And he was reading into that as far as that I was having a problem with him. And so then I think you've been probably doing the whole over-analyzing in your head dynamic, in there too.
Yeah, it wasn't, it wasn't a truly honest question. It was more just to start a discussion. But, what happened is we stopped deliberately pursuing one another.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The kind things and the things that we would do to constantly reach out and reconnect with one another. We both ran into the, usually one of us is on a mountain and one of us is in a valley, and that person, it averages out. Mm-hmm. Well, we both happened to be in a valley this time. And what happened? We just totally kind of drifted apart, and we didn't argue. We didn't do everything, but we just became an average relationship, which I can't stand.
And I think the key with a marriage bump and a faith bump is recognizing it when it's only a couple days old or certainly no more than a week old, and fixing it before it becomes a much harder habit to get back into.
Well, and that's
a bigger problem to solve. And so I think it's good that we're both recognizing that.
Yeah.
Now.
And I think, the part of reflecting, I think you need to reflect on it, learn from it, and make adjustments and try to prevent it from happening again or postponing it, whether it be a year, 10 years, 5 years, 6 months, 3 months, who knows, down the road, because the goal is to always get better, smarter, this, that, and the other thing. And so I really think it's carving out that time with God and getting, I think we all need some time quiet somewhere.
Yes.
And sometimes we hit the snooze button too long, or sometimes we do things that we don't ever get that reset. And we don't ever start the day on that firm footing, connecting with the Lord, praying protections over yourself and over your family and over your loved ones before you start the day.
Yes. I think
that's why I love those John Eldredge prayers for that, because, he just reminds you to think in all dimensions and, for the daily prayer.
I think one thing that I have a major fault, that is a major fault of mine, is I'll look at something that's on the schedule, like getting the house ready or like a work project or something, and I will let things that are important get pushed to the side, saying, well, as soon as this is over, I'll get back at it. And I think that I need to be better about determining the non-negotiables, that no matter what is going on, because there's always something. The problem if it's saying, okay, well, once this is over, it's that as soon as that's over, there's something else. And I need to be better about saying, God is a non-negotiable, my marriage is a non-negotiable, and no matter what, some small portion at a minimum of the day needs to be dedicated to that, needs attention still, no matter how big of something else is going on.
Yeah, it's, and that's the difference between like a new friendship and and the scope of that, right? So, for example, if you had just made a new friend and you didn't reach back out to them, the chances of that friendship going away increase drastically in between, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the deeper of a friendship or, of a relationship you have, the more longer you can go usually and still make it back, right? As long as you don't have a lot of wounds or a lot of baggage you're dragging. So again, I think, speaking to your point and in reiterating, breaking your day up where you have a goal for, I don't know if it's a quarter of a day, your day, or if it's whatever, part of you is to where you're going to connect with your wife, you're going to connect with your kids, you're going to connect with God, and then you got to take care of yourself in there. And no matter how little that time is, you need to put that in there.
Yeah.
Even if it's just 15 minutes of stretching or, a 20-minute walk, which could be your quiet time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
That's something that just gives you a time to think on nothing but him, analyzing yourself, gathering your thoughts, gathering your strength to attack the day. And I think that so often I know that, when you go to bed exhausted, you wake up tired, you stumble through that first half of the day, and next thing you know, you're behind.
It's gone. Yeah. I also think that something that a lot of people struggle with is they look at quantity of time, and they're looking at their day and they're saying, I can't spend the right amount of time on this. And so then they just don't even try to do it at all, versus the quality of the time. An hour with your kid on your phone, I would rather have 15 minutes of very dedicated connecting time versus the hour being around them on my phone. And so I think it's kind of reshaping your day and looking at, okay, I can have a smaller amount of time, but I'm going to put everything into that moment so that it sticks with both of us more, versus the trying to multitask. I'll get some time with my husband while I'm also having to
doing laundry or whatever.
Cooking or whatever. Scrap that. I'm going to take 10 minutes before I make dinner and really focus. And I think that I think other people need to do this as well. I think, when you look at reflect on your day and you feel like you didn't get any quality of anything, it's how much were you actually dedicating to that very deliberately versus just
being roommates,
being present, kind of.
Yeah. Just kind of existing around each other, which so many marriages turn into, right?
Yeah.
They just come to ships passing in the night. You're just kind of around each other and you're there to support for whatever, but it's not, you're not deliberately pursuing one another. It's not your priority. And I think, again, that's something that I need to get back in and throw the switch and start doing it, because next thing you know, a week's gone by, a month's gone by, a year's gone by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I said some comments. So William, maybe God doesn't want you to move. He may have a plan for you where you are. He may be testing your faith with frustration, anger, etc. We definitely believe that he did not want us to move last summer when we moved anyways. Things have lined up a lot more in a God way this time. And so I think partly where we are to blame this time is that we have every single step of this way said, wow, God's in this, God's in this, God's in this. And now that we are facing the stress of finding the next place to live, instead of us leaning back on the pattern of God's in this, we went, we have to fix it ourselves.
Yeah, instead of reflexively.
And so I don't think it's that he wants us to stay here. I think we are getting all of the right signs that we have navigated this path as he wants us to. And so we just need to have the faith that he's still with us on it.
Yeah, you're right, Scott and AB. So AB also said, can you do a review of this song, We Need God Now by Struggle Jennings? It's so good. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm always looking for good tracks, particularly good gym tracks that are not devil music or anti-American or whatever craziness is now considered music.
And then, John, what works for me is I put God first daily. Every decision, event, so on, I ask God to be by my side.
And
How you should
John,
do it.
that's exactly how you should do it. And when we do that, we feel better about it. The problem, what happened was it was a new pitch, and instead of, or it was a new play used against us, or whatever you want to do, it was a new challenge, and we went back to how we started. Millions of other challenges in our life, and try to do it ourselves instead of saying, "Oh, let's give this up to God. Let's consult Him, and figure this out." Because
Well, even I mean, it's like so silly of us. It's like shame on us when you reflect on it. Because even up until a couple days ago, Jason, we're like, where are we gonna move? He Googled. We have no connections in Tennessee other than the belief that that's where we should go. And he Googled realtors without, not a warm handoff, nothing. And he came up with this name, and he called him and had an amazing connection with him.
a believer.
Yeah, just right off the bat, it was like exactly who understands us and can help us find the right place. And then he connected with us with a lender who's the
believer?
Perfect person that we should be talking to. And so it's like God set up all of those appointments and helped Jason find the right people. And still we're here being like,
yeah. This kind of brings me back to the point of, we talked about recycling our money, within the Christian community. And pretty much I'm insisting I use Christians for everything now. There's maybe a time where I can't or it doesn't make sense, but that is what I am looking for now. I'm trying to spend my money, whether it be my personal, my business, whatever, my charities, etc., will all be Christian.
Yeah.
People but not just Christian conservatives.
Yeah.
Right? Because we don't do that enough. And again, it's got to be deliberate. There's so much stuff to think about until it becomes a reflex. And once it becomes a reflex, you don't have to be deliberate anymore because it's part of your instinct now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like how many times as a kid and everything did you have to say, look twice before you get to the road?
Mm-hmm.
Look both ways.
Right.
Now you just do it without even thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
It's not that you're not being deliberate. To do so would violate what you know to do. Right? Instinctively.
Right.
Like you'd have to try not to.
Yes. That logic makes sense. I'm tracking. And you're welcome, William.
So the quality time, Scott, that you're talking about, is like I said, everyone's got their own version of that. For me, it can be upstairs in my bedroom. It can be, or in nature. I need quiet. And I need dark, or I need like a pretty view, something that either he made or something that doesn't distract me. Is what I prefer. And any man-made sound messes with me. So a chainsaw way off in the middle of nothing or whatever. Animals, not so much. Birds tweeting, dogs barking, as long as they're not near me. Unless they're hounds. Which, oh my God. But so that's what works for me. You might find that driving in your car is your moment of peace. That's like maybe you're a car guy and your car is like your sanctuary. I can get that, there's songs written by that.
So if I'm trying to pray, which I'm still working on getting better at, as you said, I'm not very good at talking. So like having a conversation with God, who I'm not really getting kind of much feedback with in the moment. Still working on that part. I really can't be multitasking, especially, or if I'm trying to kind of onboard a sermon or something. I know like you listen to things all the time in your headphones as you're doing stuff. I have a really hard time absorbing content or keeping my mind focused on the important part of that, the prayer and stuff, while I'm trying to so while driving, I'm focusing on driving.
Well, there's, I don't know. I think it's just certain people have skill sets to where they can process multiple sources of stimuli, whether it be visual, auditory.
I'm the person who turns the music down to see where I'm going. So.
Okay. Well, there you go. You're very, but you're
when
you also
you're getting close to your destination. You're like, can you turn that music down so I can focus on where I'm driving?
yeah. Well,
I'm that person.
Well, I bet you your single sense that you're focusing on is heightened.
No.
Whereas, mine, there are times when something's deep where like I can listen to stuff and I'm tracking and I'm following and I can see where they're going with things. And then there are things that are just too deep where I find myself going back 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Because I'm multitasking and I'm like, man, I got to get back because I didn't really take that in. And that part is unfortunate. Yeah. But it's how much of a good book or how much, like right now, and I'm going to say this, it's going to sound terrible, but I'm in Psalms. I'm blowing through, all the Psalms. Mm-hmm. And most of them are pretty darn identical or very similar, and I'm not a big fan of David. So anyways, so these, I'm going through these Psalms and all that stuff. And for me, there's a lot of wisdom in there. I know there's a lot of wisdom in there. I just do not gravitate towards it as much as the other stories. Mm-hmm. Listen to one man's poetry or whatever. Like, I'm not a poetry guy anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like less than, what's going on with Moses and hearing this other stuff and, dealing with somebody less emotional than David.
Yeah. Good old David. I'm sure you're happy to be putting him
I will be glad when King David is in my rearview window in the Bible.
Poor David.
I'm glad that, he's there and that, if God can love him, then, he can love me. That's for sure. Again, it'll be great to put David down, to put him in the rearview mirror. So the other thing I want to talk about here real quickly, I want to shift gears and grab this comic book Bible that I got for my son. So
well, he's doing that. I found someone posted a quote. It's from a pastor, John MacArthur, if you've heard of him.
Yep. Chapel, Godspeed.
Okay. And we've talked about this kind of before on kind of what is your faith? Do you have faith? And for people who say they do and they don't really act it out. And he said, if the demons believe, tremble, and are not saved, what does that say about those who profess to believe and don't even tremble? And I thought that was a good way to frame it. And how many people can say that about themselves? Yeah, we talk about that a lot with modern day sin and how flippantly people do it. And there's a whole heck of a lot of people not trembling these days, I would say.
Yeah, but who's somebody who finally got something right? A broken clock is run right twice a day.
Who dat?
Catholic Church, the Pope.
Yeah. Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I know. So the Vatican came out saying that they could not bless gay marriage, and the Pope kind of confirmed that position. He said that the Church can accept an individual who is a homosexual, but the act of kind of blessing the act of marriage, the sanctity of marriage, and that they were not willing to do. So that was kind of a surprising stance, I would say, that I think a lot of people have lost faith in this Pope to.
The abortion Pope?
To stand firm in biblical principle. And so, actually, I was surprised to see that headline this week.
Well, it was, like I said, pretty rare for this Pope. Yeah. So just thankful for it. Yeah. So in order to, my son has autism and he's reading and I wanted to introduce him to God, and I'm sure he's not getting that in the school system, and he's not getting that again. He's in it from my previous marriage of my ex, who's very liberal now, wasn't when I was with her. So I've been trying to find creative ways to introduce the Bible to my son, and I found this comic book, a graphic novel, and delivery method of the Bible, and it's from, let's see here, it's called the Kingstone Bible, and as you can see, there's 3 books.
It's a really impressive set. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they go through all 3. Well, not all 3, but they break the whole Bible up into 3 really thick amazing high quality books. The actual graphics are phenomenal.
And truly just like a cartoon.
I mean, it's straight like a cartoon. You know, they don't go word for word through the Bible, but they do try to capture and summarize stuff. So this shouldn't replace your Bible reading, guys. But for, you know, somebody
for getting your kids
into the story, introducing them into the characters, getting the most quoted parts of the Bible and the lessons and all that stuff, great. And then they also have these smaller comic books, and this is called 101 Questions About the Bible, and it's got, you know, a pretty awesome looking dinosaur on the front, right? What kid doesn't like dinosaurs? And then here's another one, 101 Questions, Volume 2, and this one is about the Bible and Christianity. It looks like, you know, what does that look like to you? You know, it either, you know, looks like End of Days right there, right? So, you know, and then they have another one with a spaceship on it.
Wasn't Ravi,
Goliath.
Was it Ravi Zacharias?
Ravi Zacharias actually did one.
Yeah.
Here they have one that kind of shows the Titanic, and again, some of these are like done guest appearances by certain authors. This one here is all about hell, which, you know, that one there is probably going to be a little bit scary. I haven't dove into. I've paged through them, but I haven't like really dove into them. And then this one here, which is by Ravi Zacharias, Dr. Ravi Zacharias, who passed away last year. And this one is The Lamb and the Fuhrer, and it's what happens when Hitler goes and stands before Jesus, what that looks like. And then a great one on how he got the Bible. So I bought a whole bunch of the stuff from them. I'm going to check it out, and I'll let you know if I think it's any good. I think that, you know, as our saying, always be ABM, always be mentoring. Yeah. You got to be trying to speak in the language of your kids, you know. So sometimes you know, this may sound counterintuitive. You're gonna have to log on to the stupid video game, and you're gonna have to play alongside them in the video game and mentor them there if that's where they come alive, and then try to get them out of that. You know, like, you know, so many parents don't understand today, particularly, you know, people who've never been gamers or have nothing to do with it. You know, the consequences of, you know, and again, obviously it's just a game, but, you know, the effects, it'd be like pulling like for some of these games, right? And some of these kids are nationally ranked and doing whatever. It'd be like you're going to your kid who's the star football quarterback and pulling him off the field.
So you're speaking in context of like the people, how there was these videos of what does your kid do when you turn off the TV in the middle of their game? Yeah, stuff like that. So again, if it's obsessive, it's an addiction, it's whatever, then how'd you let your kid get into that anyways, right? But you have to go through that. But there is a really good opportunity, and it's no different than playing baseball with your kid and playing catch in the backyard, right? You're problem solving, you're doing more cerebral things than physical things, and you're spending time, and it's all coachable moments. I think it's when chosen wisely and used wisely.
Yep. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, is there anything else about the video games you want to say?
No.
So another resource that I just see, The Chosen actually has just come out with a kid's version, a book called Jesus Loves the Little Children. And it's based on the episode with all the kids in it.
Oh, cool.
And so I haven't really looked into it, but I've seen some fantastic reviews. It's The Chosen, so I'm sure it's great. But another thing for kids, if you're looking for resources on how to get them to love Jesus. So
one of the other things I think, you know, I know ORW offers husband-wife camps. I know Franklin Graham's Samaritan's Purse does too. But doing religious, you know, retreats together can be something else to help you really reconnect with God, with like coaches there, or, you know, pastors or spiritual mentors, you know, to help you along in that and how to work through some challenging things, whether you have them or not. You know, I mean, I remember the first marriage Bible study we did, we weren't even close to a crisis at that point.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we learned, we picked up tools and things to help everyone else, and everyone
been
else
able
got
to
something
use.
out of it.
Well, and it's in stuff that's been able to use in our inevitable little bumps.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the next thing I want to talk about is, plugging in with your kids, like Lauren said, the 15 minutes.
Mhm.
I find myself, because right now I'm under the gun and I'm craving data. I'm craving data on the new houses, what's available. Everything's under a time crunch. And I find myself wanting to multitask around her even more than I already do.
Mhm.
And I got to make sure that I spend that intimate time to connect and be there to meet her eyes
Yeah.
when she looks for my eyes.
Yeah. Hi, Brandy. Yeah, I think that's so important. I catch myself doing it too, and I always justify it's like, well, I've been around her all day, and so I can be on my phone right now while she's in the tub or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, no, shame on me. Enjoy this.
Because it's going to be gone.
Especially when you don't have. I mean, I'm around her a lot more than you are during the day, so kind of especially when you're needing to capitalize on the moments.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And I personally would love to have our meal times, family meal time, kind of no devices and, focus on each other. It's very hard to get into that routine when there's always stuff going on,
Well, there's always stuff going on, and right now B
is
is such a battle and such a full-time management at the table, right?
Yeah.
That we're not having conversations or anything anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it kind of feeds on each other.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it would be great if we didn't, if we were so organized we could get things done before that quiet time to sit down.
Like work, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. But I think that we can get there.
So if you guys are still listening, let us know either how you do dinner or how do you all make sure that you get your family time, either one-on-one with your kids
or your wife or significant other,
spouse. Kind of, how do you split? I mean, I think especially as you add kids and you want to make sure that they still each get their own attention. It's not always as a group, so that they feel special and all that. So how do you manage it in your families? And do you guys do dinner as a sit-down thing that it's focused on each other, or do you all let the TV on, or kind of how do you keep that? I grew up with it that dinner was family time, and I know a lot of people do. They bring their dinner into the TV room and they watch the news, and we've gotten into that routine a lot, before too. And so I mean, it's not a wrong answer. It's just kind of how do you use your time?
Yeah, I mean, I remember growing up, it was all hands on deck during dinner, and then after that, we could go our own ways, but it was all hands on deck during dinner. Not that there was any great conversation going on. It was just you were going to be there and you were going to eat, and if there was something to be said, you were going to be available for it.
Yeah, I've seen things, and some of them seem like they would get kind of exhausting to have to participate in, but kind of the every day or the every week, tell me something that was great today, something that you struggled with today, or a question that you had today, something that they go around the table and every person contributes, a few little factoids that then can initiate conversation, and you can use that to learn some things about what's going on in your kid's life, and kind of if you ask them strategically or creatively.
Well, I think where we're ironing that out with ourselves is during grace.
Mm-hmm.
We take turns praying.
Have we, guys? We need to get it on video that B says amen now.
Yeah, she's all about the amen. She can't get to amen fast enough.
It's so adorable. She just holds her hand and she goes, amen, and then we're all done. Okay. We still have to say thank you.
Yeah. So, taking and praying together is such a good way to feed that off. And, I really look forward to the day when there's a table full of people and I've got my part, and then I say, what I have to say, and then you say what you have to say. And it's just a way
pass it around.
Yeah, it's just a way for everyone to kind of communicate and let everyone know what you're going through and what you need prayers for.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what it's for.
Yeah.
Obviously giving thanks to God, but to petition for others. Tomorrow, and I watch 1 to 2 hours of TV a week. If that, the rest is PCM and coffee with Trident Shield. Sit at the table to eat.
Nice, Brandy.
Thanks, appreciate
so glad
that.
we're your entertainment. It's nice, wholesome. We're happy to be in your home.
What'd you guys think of D. Cure's interview? I mean, I thought, he was brutally honest, particularly when his attempted suicide.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Had no idea that was going to come up, and I thought he was brave to talk about it and get into that.
Yeah, I don't know I don't have enough depth on a history of his interviews or of his music to know how often he talks about that or whether he's incorporated that into his music or
I haven't seen
I
what
hadn't
I've
seen
seen
any reference to it, but again, it might be in there, just haven't seen it yet. But yeah, that was an incredible part of his story. And I think I'm thankful that he shared it.
And again, I think it showed, he showed, and I remember him talking during his story, and I'm like, wow, he grew up a Christian and this still happened to him and he fell away. But he's like, if I didn't have that base to come back to, God knows how long it would have taken me to.
Yeah.
Whereas, for us, for me, it took a lot longer. For you, it took a long time because we were never introduced to faith.
Well, I think he probably.
Thanks, Brandy.
We have friends who are struggling with this now, and you hear it so often. The kids that are raised in the Christian home, that they hit that kind of high school age and they hit independence, they hit the public school system, they, all of these factors that make them kind of turn away from their family's faith, and they haven't developed kind of enough of a true relationship to carry it through. And, they become the prodigal, and, fortunately a lot of them make their way back to it. But I know it's a very stressful time for parents to wonder kind of where did I go wrong, and why is my kid not a Christian anymore or not acting like a Christian anymore?
Yeah, and I
think it's a very common story, and, grateful that he was still alive to have a chance to come back.
Yeah, and if you think about it, we've been dealing with a lot of pushback from our friends who want us to stay in blue states. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm not doing that to my daughter. Yeah. I'm not doing that to my family. I want to get around people who will reinforce my values, not tear them down, and I'm not going to turn them loose, into secular society until they're strong and ready to defend themselves.
Yeah, because that's the age where they're so impressionable. So and it's hard to articulate and defend those hard questions that that the liberal teenagers or the secular teenager friends are going to be throwing at them and teasing them for having this faith and all this stuff. And I think that's where a lot of them struggle and end up falling away from it because they just can't. They don't have the legs to stand on it.
The barrage of the world against them, and so many of them.
Obviously, because sin is so much more fun at that age.
Right.
So why not? What's wrong with a drink or a hookup or whatever?
Yeah, and that is, part of the, of the mentoring process, right? How many people just turn that over to the school system and your friends and peer groups and coaches and all that, and that's why their kids all fell away. Yeah. It's why their kids are living alternative lifestyles.
Sex education is these days in the school system. It's disgusting.
So, that to me is, half the motivation to move south, to get around like-minded individuals, to instead of their friends tearing them down and trying to turn them, into like everyone else, letting, reinforcing and maybe serving as a check on them and saying, no, don't go do that.
Right.
Remember,
Being positive influence.
This is who we are. Imagine having positive influence friends instead of negative influence friends.
And I think also that then the adult mentors that they'll have access to will also be of that mindset. The parents that they'll be around in those homes, whatever teachers, whether it's a homeschool co-op or however you do it, you can more. You obviously can't guarantee 100%, but you can much more mold them in the right direction.
Without a doubt.
It doesn't guarantee anything. And I think parents are often very, very hard on themselves when a kid does kind of drift away. And I think it's seeing the signs of that as early as possible, and really talking to them about kind of what's going on, and not just assuming, oh, they'll be okay, or it's just this one little thing, and then it snowballs and you've kind of lost a grip on it.
Yeah, well, I find parents, particularly Christian parents, to be way too trusting. Mm-hmm. I'm going to love you and trust you, but I'm going to verify everything until you're 18. Then you don't need me to verify for you anymore.
Yep.
You're on your own.
What do you think of the and it seems to be a balance. You know, we've talked to Ken, and I'm sure that we kind of have a new audience now. Some that from last summer that, you know, and talking about kind of the rites of passage and the whole kind of adolescence thing. He's like, this young adult concept is just this it skews the responsibility, and it kind of steals it from, you know, responsibility from kids to go from kid to adult, and we just kind of keep them in this limbo for way too long. So kind of, I mean, he did a little rite of passage for his son at 13, and he's like, you are now a man. And so kind of it's, you know, what's that balance on the continuing to do trust but verify and all up in their business in that way until they're 18, but also saying you are an adult.
Well, I think Ken has spent more time mentoring his son than
most.
Than 99.9% of the people out there, including educating him.
Hey, Chris, thanks for popping in. Appreciate the support. Have a
awesome.
good night.
Good to see you, brother. Yeah, make sure you hit the like button, peeps. We've been slacking on that, and our numbers are way down. So go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Appreciate it. Commenting is good. Chatting is good. Appreciate it. Yeah, so Ken, you know, has taught him the consequences of the Bible and what that means. Right. So Ben, I think, is going, you know, is a lot more prepared than a lot of other kids.
Homeschooled also.
Yeah, homeschooled also. You know, so again, getting maximum input from some very strong people in his life to prepare him for the rest. And then he's also getting a social life at the church and around the church events and the church groups and all that, which should be, most of them should be good influences. Now, are there always going to be bad apples? Of course. But on an average, they're going to feed into that.
Yeah, I just think it's an interesting, you know, kind of just within your home. It's just an interesting dynamic, and one that I think you have to kind of walk that line of, if you've acknowledged your teenager as an adult. Ken kind of says that, you know, the 13, you know, that's when historically boys go off and become men, and they, you know, they go kill their lion or whatever. And but then kind of how do you still navigate that they are under your roof, having to abide by your rules, and, like, you know, balancing that, which I think every family figures out differently. He's clearly made it very successful.
Well, I think, you know, it's no different than what we all do, right? We all exist under authority, right? We don't break laws because we don't want to be fined. We don't want to go to jail. We don't want to lose our rights, right? So somebody else lives under your. Thank you, John. Really appreciate that. So somebody lives under your roof. They're living under your authority. Yeah. Right. So once they have their own apartment.
So it's not to do with that you don't respect them as an adult, or
it's just there are rules in this house, and there are whatever. And I mean, unless they're totally funding and self-sufficient, there's still some whatever. I think it's acknowledging that they will be given responsibility, and there will be repercussions if they don't hold what is the expectations. I think that is the ultimate key, right? The empowerment, right, is the carrot. Here's your freedom. Here is this responsibility. Here is this go excel. If you don't, there's the stick, whether that's a loss of trust, freedoms, you know, or responsibilities taken back from you because you were not prepared for it yet.
Yeah. I mean, he's done a wonderful job with his family, so I think it's a model that people should certainly look into and try to emulate.
Yeah. So we talked about, now let's talk about marriage. You know, let's talk about the uncomfortable part for us, because we're husband and wife and we're on here and we're walking through this, and how, you know, when we say that we're drifting apart, we're not close to divorce. We're still like every day in this marriage is like a minimum of 7, you know. It's just the 10s are so good.
You have nine kids, John?
Wow. 9. Holy smokes,
hey, we can take some pointers from you. Holy cow.
Yeah, let me know when you want to come on and give us some parenting advice, because holy smokes, B is already pushing it with us.
Anyways, get back to you.
I forgot what I was talking about.
You were saying that we are our rough periods are 7 out of 10, just not a 10.
Yeah, but it's still a concerning issue depending on what your average is, and if your average is bad, and you drift out, well, then you're going negative and you're digging a hole.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, you got a scale of 1 to 10 to negative 1,000. And every day that you're not addressing your issues, or you're making, when you open your eyes, you know.
John said, yes, I used to be good looking.
When you open your eyes, you know, you should have 2 priorities. First, connect with the Lord. 3, win your spouse's love, right? That day, you need to win their love and treat it that way every day, to win their heart again, to show them why they fell in love with you. And if you do that more days than you don't, you're going to be in a really good place. Yeah. But it's work, guys. It's work. You know, you got to be constantly, you know, if they're just empty words or you're just repeating a routine, that doesn't count. It has to be thoughtful, you know, things. I mean, it can be, you know, the touching and all that stuff, which is, you know, everyone communicates different, but it's also doing kind things, you know, and letting you know that they're your priority in your life. Because it's so easy when life is pulling you from other priorities, the marriage can become the last thing. And that's where I think a vast majority of marriages break down. Everyone becomes busy. Everyone gets betrayed. Everyone feels, you know, like they've been replaced by something, someone.
I think so often it's the kids. And I mean, I'm in it as the primary caregiver. I can see how that happens. I don't want that to happen. And I know that when you ask a lot of parents kind of who is the most important person to you, they often say their kids. And
Yep.
it should be, your answer should be your spouse.
Exactly. How quickly people throw that switch is usually how quickly their marriage goes down a dark hole.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to balance. I can speak, you know, being in this right now, especially at the age where, I mean, she's starting to come out of it a little bit, but in being slightly more independent. But just there's a little human who is so reliant on you for everything. Like they can't function without you participating in it. Whereas your spouse is a fully functional adult. And so they obviously can get through their day without your attention if necessary. That doesn't mean it's right. And so it's hard to balance that kind of when you have to be all in on your kid. To not to say, okay, I'll do better with the relationship stuff tomorrow. It can't work like that because tomorrow will come and go, and then the week will come and go and all of that. But I think that's why so many people, parents, moms, get stuck into the trap of, I just have to focus on the kids because they need me. You have to kind of relook at what the definition of need is.
Well, and it doesn't have to be something complex and long or anything, right? It could be just, you know, a pinch on the butt cheek or a kiss on your cheek, you know, you know, to flowers, to a hug, to, you know, a long kiss, just something to let you know, hey, I'm here and I'm not just going through the motions, you know, and even like, I just look back and I'm just like, okay, I was, you know, you were obviously super distracted with everything going on. And instead of chasing you, I retreated, you know, and got resentful, you know? So, you know, I mean, that's just being honest. And now I can look back and say, this is what I should have done. I should have been the one to do this. Again, when you're recognizing something, you need to be the one because you just recognized it. Your marriage is under attack. Whether it's, you want to call it from the devil, the evil one, or from being too busy, from your own sin without the devil.
I think we make our own, we make our own issues, and then the devil can come in and take advantage of it.
You know, and
you had a seed of resentment in your mind, and he's like, I can work with that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but then we've, you know, again, this is going to happen to everyone. I think that's important for everyone to understand that, you know, relationships go in cycles. Yeah. Everything has seasons. You have 4 seasons and everything. And if you're, you know, then they're going to cycle, you know, You think about your passions in your life. They come and they go on some things, you know, on hobbies, habits, whatever. So the key is not beating yourself up, but holding yourself accountable, analyzing what went wrong, learning from it, and getting back on. Get back on the horse.
Yeah. Well, and I think also you came to me yesterday, 2 days ago, and said, you know, this is what I've been perceiving. And I think it's on the recipient of that information to hear them out, not get defensive. I hope I didn't get defensive.
No,
and try to, because I wasn't like, oh yeah, I've been feeling the same way. That kind of came as a surprise to me that you had that conversation. So I owed it to you to try to figure out where that was coming from.
Right.
And so I think that, you know, you can't just brush it off or get defensive because you're being accused of not, you know, doing your part in the marriage or anything. So I think it's really important to, even if it's only one person feeling that way, to respect that and try to figure it out and own it if you need to do something better.
All right. So.
And Brandy, I'd say balance is generally the same thing as time management, kind of one works into the other.
Well, it's resource management, of which time is only one.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So time is one type of man. Then there's, you know, emotional aspect of it. You know, there's commitment levels to it. There's a whole bunch of other resources that are part of that balance. But the key is I beg you to start every day with, you know, one, deliberately pursuing your relationship with the Lord, with Jesus, and then two, winning the love of your spouse. And then, you know, after all that, you know, you can focus on yourself, and that needs to be a priority as well, right, guys? But, you know, I find that too often guys try to fix their body, their external, which tends to escalate all the other problems, right? They're trying to get hot so they can go attract chicks, right? They want to show, you know, their stuff. They want to do whatever. They're trying to fix the easy part, which is just going in the gym and lifting. That's time under pressure and consistency, right? Whereas, you know, people are messy. Putting yourself second is messy.
Yeah.
You know, putting other people's needs first and hoping that you chose right, that they'll put you first.
Yeah.
So many people I know chose poorly, and those are the people I have a hard time giving any advice, because when you choose poorly,
it's a one-way street.
It's a one-way street, and unless they become believers and they understand, you know, the lifestyle that we're talking about is biblical and what they should be doing, you're going to be you're going to be carrying your cross the whole way, and they're never even going to touch theirs.
Yeah.
So, you know, for all the relationships of people I know who are in like that, my heart breaks for them.
Yeah, and it is hard to know what is. I mean, obviously, you don't want to kind of encourage divorce, you know, in a marriage. But if it's not a Christian marriage, I don't know where kind of the line is on that. I saw someone. It was on some Christian board on Facebook, and someone was saying, you know, that they were in a bad marriage, and it was seeming like divorce was their only way out, but they didn't believe in divorce and all this stuff. And someone commented, and I guess I'm curious your thought, because that the divorce is not necessarily bad because we might have gotten into that marriage when it was not God's plan, and so in order to get back and onto God's plan, it's okay to end that marriage and move forward to what God ultimately would have wanted for us.
Yeah, I think where it also depends is if you have two believers or not. If you have two legitimate believers, then you need to stay in that and work it out, because you have all the tools right there. You're working with everything you need.
Yeah.
If you're with an unbeliever or somebody who's not a true believer, who's a Joel Osteen type of believer, who, you know, or whatever, right? Then you're basically fighting a war for your marriage with two arms tied behind your back and your legs shackled.
Yeah, well, we asked that question.
All you got is headbutts.
Yeah. It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah.
We asked that question once, as far as kind of from the wife's perspective, being the submissive role. If she's the Christian and the husband is not, is she still called to submit to his leadership in the family if he's not doing it through prayer? And more people said no, that she's not in a position where she needs to do that if the husband is not a Christian.
Well, I think if I don't think they're exclusionary. I think that, just like God used Pharaoh to do decisions and he wasn't a believer, and other people, that he can use unbelievers to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's a good way to test her faith. If the husband can make a biblically sound decision and not be a believer.
Right. I think,
right.
Yeah,
It's just if it runs counter to the faith, then nothing becomes before your relationship
or even
with
if it's
God.
not kind of a faith issue.
It's like, well, let's just pull something out of if the husband is like, we're going to have a threesome, I'm inviting whatever over.
So that's much more dramatic than what so let's more similar to kind of what our situation is. I think we need to move here. And the Christian is saying, I really am not getting that message. And the husband's like, we're moving. And he's clearly not doing that through prayer. It's not a move on the behalf of God. And the wife is not getting any signs from God or the feeling that is the God thing to do. Does she still have to submit to that move? Or can she put her foot down or her opinion out there more strongly and say, we should not move?
I think she can put her opinion out there, whatever. But if God's telling her not to move, then she shouldn't move.
Even if the husband says to move?
Yeah, if God is telling her not to move, then that should be what she's talking.
So
that
the wife, a submissive wife, should. So if she's getting the message from God, she needs to submit to God versus submit to her husband.
Exactly.
Okay.
But again,
Brandy.
that's such a generic, crazy 1,000 variances that everyone who hears that discussion is going to piggyback their own little dramas on that.
Okay.
Right? Meaning that, well, what if this or what if that? Well, we weren't talking about those factors. We were talking about a very vanilla situation.
Night, John. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, brother. Have a good one. Good to see you back. So again, through the issue on itself of moving or not moving. Mm-hmm. If the husband has logical reasons like, I don't know, job, pay, money, support, all those things, and maybe she's just being lazy because her friends are there.
Okay.
Right? So again, it doesn't have to be exclusionary, but I think, God trumps everything.
Okay.
Do you agree with that? Or you look like you're...
Well, no, I think
you're processing, so I can see you processing something behind your eyes right now, so...
It's kind of what's... Does she leave the marriage because she says that God does not want her to move and the husband's insisting on moving? Or do you submit to your husband, even though he's not the Christian, and say, God will reward me in heaven that's not the right way to frame it, but God will know my intent? Well,
I think it's going to depend on a lot of other factors other than this one factor is what I'm trying to say. Is it an amazing, great marriage other than that? Why does the woman feel so strong? Like if this is going to make her man happy, why is it going to make, whatever, unless it's like moving to Las Vegas to work as, the director of porn films. Well, that's obvious. You've got someone who's spiritually bankrupt and you shouldn't be even in that relationship. But if it's, depending on how mundane or how racy it gets, I think it makes it an easier call.
Okay, makes sense.
You sure it makes sense?
As much sense as it needs to make right now, yeah.
So what are some of the challenges that you're having?
Just want to get through the next couple months. I mean, there's a lot of good on the horizon. There's a lot of stress on the horizon. Are
you excited about anything? Like, are
Yeah,
you
and-
looking forward to anything, or is it all dread?
No, it's not all dread. I have a piece about our next step. Although I'm sad to leave, I have a piece that we're doing what we need to do. So as long as it doesn't seem like we're jamming ourselves into the next step because of Jason and Lauren versus God, then I think that it's going to lead to great things.
Yeah, because I am super excited. I look at this new beginning as a chance to add more friends to our already amazing friends that we have. We are blessed with some of the best friends in the entire world that, I'm just so proud of my friend relationships. They're the family you choose. And I'm excited to go down there and have a brand new town. I'm excited to be setting roots in a place where I literally want our family to exist for generations.
Yeah.
In those situations, wise counsel must be sought out. It has to be out through the God filter and clarify it isn't our will or Satan mimicking God. Put through the God filter. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So, I find myself extremely excited to, meet new people, to, again, wrap our arms around and be embraced by a Christian community.
Yeah. I mean, by all accounts and the people that we've been connected to just recently, it seems like there's a lot of good people there. So it's going to be an adjustment, and I'm not good at change. So there will be the period of change and kind of the missing my routine, but it'll be good. In the end, it's good.
Well, I think in the end, we need to make, I think communications between us through this whole thing has to be the most important part, right? Because there are hills and valleys, right? There are times when it's like, this is the best thing ever. And all of a sudden, like, wow, we're leaving all the infrastructure that we built up here with our friendships and people we can depend on and all that stuff. And we're going to start over from scratch.
Yeah.
But who's to say that where we go isn't going to be better?
It could be.
So anyways, guys, we were not planning on doing a Wednesday. It's just after Ken, after, we didn't do the 9 or the 11 o'clock today, we wanted to come on and, kind of confess where, we've been struggling a little bit and talk about how to fix that, how we're going to fix it. And maybe you guys found this valuable. I hope so. If one trick helps you, strengthen your marriage or turn around a relationship or connect with your kids, then it was all worth it, right? So how can you support us? You can support us by, Lauren?
All the social media fun stuff, like, comment, share, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. What did I miss there as far as the social media stuff? Like, comment, share.
Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Tell a buddy.
Yeah. As well as our podcast on iTunes. Go on there and give us a 5-star rating. We have 17 right now. We could use some more. And then we have our Patreon page.
Swag.
And then our awesome swag. I've got a T-shirt on today.
It's the same as a sweatshirt.
Same as a
t-shirt.
sweatshirt, just a T-shirt. I love it. Made in America. It's good stuff. I'm also wearing a hat. The hat's 3-sided. It's got the our logo on the front. It's got the American flag on the side, and then it's got, because I like to wear my hat to the back, it's got another logo on the front. So this is the baseball hat. There's another one that's more of a trucker hat, and my head's already too big. I put a trucker hat on. I get to have my own zip code. Yeah, so those are the ways you can support us. We greatly appreciate it. And right now we are going to not have a Friday show. So what I'm going to try to do, and I've been promising this for a while, is get my testimony filmed and I'll upload it and we'll be able to chat during that, because we'll be on the road or at dinner in our new town.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's all I got for you. Lauren, go ahead and pray us out.
All right. He's really enjoying this. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time together, for this impromptu time with our audience tonight, and thank you for the people who joined in when they weren't expecting us and sharing their evening with us. And Lord, thank you for giving us this platform to open up our home and our lives with others so that we can be transparent about our struggles with our faith, where we need to improve in our faith, and how you always come through for us, Lord. And we hope that that can reach the ears that it needs to reach tonight, and that they can take that and change something that they are working through in their own lives, or share it with someone else who might need to hear it, Lord. And thank you just so much again for the ability to do that. And we are so blessed by everything that's going on in our life. We are focusing on some of the negative, but there's so much good, and we are grateful. So thank you again. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. And now, cue outro.